I am so tired of coming on this podcast every single week and telling you to stop playing T.Y. Hilton. Like, just stop it.
Mikey needs help.
Mikey needs help.
I was like, if you don't have Jeff Wilson in here, and if you don't run it on first down, I'm going to strangle you through that TV.
You should know better than everyone else. That fool tears you up when you plays you.
Yeah, but
Don't you want him on your team?
I have him at number 25.
Thank you. Fine. Todd's the reasonable one on this show.
I take issue with everything he said there.
Well,
I really do.
DeAndre Swift. He's going to break them tackles, son.
That's bold. That's bold. That's putting your nuts on the table right there.
Hey, there's the first time for everything.
Waxing poetic over here with Todd Diamond.
Dude's old.
So what? He's not as old as Brady, and you're jerking him off before the show starts.
I have Sutton in my top 10. I have him at number 9. Yes.
You know what? I'm just canceling the league. I can't do this with you guys. All right, we're in the middle of August, and it's heating up outside, and it's heating up in the NFL preseason. What is up, MHA owners? We're back for another podcast. Eric Lansing, Mikey Renault, Todd Diamond. How's everyone doing this week? It's Wednesday night. We have some preseason games under our belt. Everybody having a good week so far?
Yeah, fantastic. No complaints.
Yep, just getting ready to talk about some crappy tight ends. So, yeah.
But see, that's where we, as so-called experts, need to help these guys out. There's some good tight ends and then some bad tight ends. Probably a lot of bad tight ends. But we got to help them, right? We got to give them our knowledge to help them draft, because not everybody's going to get Kelsey. Not everyone's going to get George Kittle. Not everyone's going to get Darren Waller. So we got to help them find the guys that can be somewhat productive, right?
Why can't they help themselves and just be better?
The tight ends? Well, I just think that's the age of the NFL these days. They're not the most important player on the field, and they're blocking. You're trying to keep those quarterbacks upright. So we got to be there for them. We got to be the heroes.
Yeah.
You guys ready to be the heroes?
Hell yeah.
All right, so
Sure.
Todd's ready. The NFL, we've gotten 1 week in the preseason. Mikey always says he doesn't want to take too much from what took place in week 1, but did anything stand out? Made you kind of look and think about things fantasy-wise, Todd?
It's cool. I haven't seen 33 points next to the Broncos for a very long time. The Javonte Williams for the Broncos for running backs. Hey, looking like he can. He might trying to battle for that for that number 1 running back position. So that's been cool to see. Drew Lock. In that first preseason game. Showing some flashes and stuff like that. So that's what kind of stood out for me, for at least for the Broncos' sake. As I was being Broncos fans, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. Broncos, Drew Lock looking good, Bridgewater looking good. Mikey, anything that you saw from week 1 of the NFL preseason?
Yeah, I mean, Javonte Williams obviously looked good. I'm not ready to say he's competing for the number 1 job yet, Todd. But it's no cut and going overboard with the first game, all right? I think he's going to be good too, but I'm not willing to, start making proclamations right here, right now. The one thing that I noticed was that James Robinson got the majority of the carries with the ones as opposed to ETN. So, I might bump him up a little bit on my rankings, just because of that.
Yeah, I think so as well. I'm surprised Todd didn't mention Justin Fields, who had a pretty productive day. 14 of 20, 142 yards and a touchdown. Another guy I saw, Salvin Ahmed over at Miami, had a pretty decent day. Malcolm Brown did not, even though Ahmed's still 3rd on the depth chart according to ESPN, but it could be moving his way up. Trey Lance did not look very good, so keep Jimmy Garoppolo in your sights, who did not play, but Trey Lance not performing well. If it's his first preseason game, you don't be too hard on these guys. All right, so I'm going to go through this news pretty quick. There's a lot of news.
To me, the most amazing thing about the news is that whatever goes on in the world, it exactly fits the number of pages that they're using in the paper that day. Interesting concept.
If you guys want to say something, scream, but I'm going to try to go through these pretty quick. Chicago Bears second round pick Tevin Jenkins, who was scheduled to be the starting left tackle to start this season, will be on the shelf for a little while, having some back surgery. So the offense may struggle a little bit there in Chicago. And obviously you have Fields if he ends up being the starter, Allen Robinson, some other guys that could hurt because of losing a guy, even though that guy was a rookie. DeAndre Hopkins not practicing the last couple of days, undisclosed injury. May not mean anything, but I just saw that run across the wire. 2 Ravens wide receivers dealing with some minor injuries. Sammy Watkins, Marquise Brown haven't practiced the last few days. Panthers wideout Robbie Anderson dealing with a hamstring. Odell Beckham running at full speed and making hard cuts. That's good if you're on the Odell Beckham train. Dak Prescott won't play in the team's 3rd preseason game this weekend. However, also dealing with the injury is one of Dak's weapons in Amari Cooper, still trying to get back, dealing with ankle issue. Word from Broncos camp is that they're hoping Cortland Sutton can play in the 3rd preseason game on Saturday. Lions running back DeAndre Swift dealing with a groin issue, but saying that he could play this weekend. Jags wideout DJ Shark dealing with a finger thing. Second-year wide receiver from Minnesota, Justin Jefferson, held out of the team's next preseason games. Shoulder injury. Doesn't sound like it's major. And another second-year wideout, Chase Claypool, missing practice the last few days to an ankle. Did I miss anything? Any news? There's a lot going on, so I don't know if you guys noticed something that I didn't.
No, I think that's pretty much the bumps and bruises of training camp and preseason.
Yeah, and there's a lot more than that, but those are ones that at least were mostly fantasy relevant. All right, you guys ready for some MHA trivia?
Yeah.
You are. Yeah, you are.
If my answers frighten you, Vincent, then you should cease asking scary questions. I'm gonna take it.
I'm trying to look outside the box here, and so what we're gonna do, we're just gonna go back and forth in terms of naming players here. And so since Mikey is trailing in the MHA trivia season standings, I'm gonna let him go first. He's gonna get the easiest question here. But anyway, what we're gonna look at here is the last 3 years in terms of tight ends and the top 5 scoring tight ends in each of those years. So you're gonna reel off some names, and whoever gets to 5 points first. Depending on how long this take, I could end it sooner, but we'll go that route first. And so, Mikey, there is a tight end that has finished in the top 5 in the last 3 years. You want to give us the easy answer for that?
Yeah, I'm going to say that it's Travis Kelce.
That is correct. In fact, Travis Kelce has finished number 1 in each of the past 3 seasons. 237 points last year, 190 points in 2019, and 220 points in 2018. So Mikey getting on the board first. So Todd, there are 1, 2, 3 players that have been on the top 5 tight end scoring list the last 3 years. You want to give me a guess?
George Kittle.
That is correct. George Kittle in 2018 finished 3rd with 182 points, and then 2019 finished 3rd as well with 162 points. So Todd picks up a point. Mikey, time for you to guess. And even if you don't name one of the guys that has 2, if you name someone that's on this list, I'll still give you the point.
Okay. So they just have to, you said there was another one that had finished in the top 5 twice?
There are 2 more that have finished in the top 5 twice.
Oh, okay. I'll say Darren Waller because he probably did it the past 2 years.
And that is correct. Mikey picks up another point. He's up to 2 points now. Waller last year finished number 2. Had a breakout year in 2019 where he finished 5th with 159 points. And then what a season from the Raiders tight end, 214 points. Todd, your turn. So there's one other guy that has had 2 seasons in the top 5, but there's a plethora of guys that have just done it once, and I'll give you points for whoever you name because we're trying to get to 5 points. So give me your guess.
Let's go with Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews is correct. He only finished in the top 5 once the past 3 years, and that was 2019, where he finished 4th with 161 points. So Todd picks up his 2nd point. And now we're back to Mikey, still one of the guys that has been on the list twice.
This should be pretty easy. I'm going to go with the guy that took a dump in his pants last year. I'm gonna go with Zach Ertz.
That is correct. Well done, Miguel. In fact, he finished second in 2018 and second in 2019. Yeah, we'll talk about more Ertz in depth when we talk about Dallas Goedert. So the Philadelphia, tight end situation. So Mikey's got 3 points. You guys are killing it right now. I didn't make this game hard enough. We'll see if it gets hard.
Well, no, but
ahead.
this is what I was talking about with tight ends. It's like it's always the same guys because most of them are bad. So, it's always your same cast of characters all the time.
For the most part. Although some of these names that you haven't mentioned yet are one and dones, if you will. So we'll see. Todd, your guess.
I will go with Jonnu Smith.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, Jonnu Smith not in the top 5 in the past 3 years of tight end scoring in our league. Mikey, back to you. You could take a 4-2 lead if you can get an answer right here.
Okay, so I'm just trying to think of guys that have been playing for and have been okay, because there's not really any more of those elite guys.
And also think about the guys that did well last year. That's probably the easiest way to do it, because just to figure out who was good in the NFL last year.
I've got kind of three names in mind here. I'm gonna go with Jared Cook.
Very good. Jared Cook, back in 2018, finished 5th with Oakland, had 143 points, and made the Pro Bowl that year. So Mikey up to 4 points here with Jared Cook. Back to you, Todd. You're in a little bit of a hole here.
Let's go with Robert Turbin.
Robert Turbin, the running back?
No, not
I don't even know if it's Robert Turbin, but Turbin was a Seattle running back, wasn't he?
Yeah, not Robert. No, I think he was a Redskin, but not Robert Turbin. God dang it.
I'll give you another guess.
I'm not go with Robert. Let's go with Gronk.
No, Gronk has not finished in the top 5 the last 3 years. So right now, as I'm looking through this list, you have 4 guys left on this list. Because Mikey mentioned a lot of these guys are similar. We got a lot of Kelsey, Zach Ertz, and George Kittle and Darren Waller. But Mikey could win it with a guess right here.
I'm going to go with a guy that I was pretty hard on. If I remember when we were talking about tight ends last year in the podcast, and I talked a lot about this guy, and I thought about it being fluky because he had like a really high touchdown number one of those years, and that was Eric Ebron. So I'm going to go with that.
That is correct. He was 4th in 2018, 180 points. He also went to the Pro Bowl that season. So Mikey wins this game of MHA Trivia. I think you're just one back of Todd now in the season standings. So going through 2018, Kelsey, Ertz, Kittle, Eric Ebron, Jared Cook. So we got all of 2018. 2019, Kelsey, Ertz, Kittle, Andrews, Darren Waller. So you got all of 2019. So you guys got the harder ones from the ones last year. Kelsey, Waller, Logan Thomas finished 3rd with 139 points. Robert Tonyan, I wonder if that's who Todd was trying to get out of his mouth there. Robert Tonyan for the Packers, 138 points. He had 11 touchdowns. And TJ Hawkinson, 133 points, finished 5th. So some pretty low point totals last year for some of these tight ends. As Mikey said, not a good bunch last season. So into some tight end talk. Can we all agree that Travis Kelce is the number 1 tight end that should be drafted?
Yeah.
No surprises from me. I'm saying Kelce.
All right. So I didn't ask you this in the outline, but I'm asking you here. Where should Travis Kelce go? Should he go late in the first round, early second round? Should we wait on him? Should he go earlier than that? Mikey, where should he go?
I believe he should go late first round. I think, given the positional scarcity and his propensity to constantly give you double figures, I believe that he is worth that type of value at the end of round one.
Todd, what do you think?
I would say at least early second round, for just because. I mean, I know Kelsey, is technically a wide receiver and puts up wide receivers numbers, but I think he'd still be around. I think he'd still be around, like, the beginning of the second round. I wouldn't I wouldn't take him in the first.
I think the conversation always goes back to, and I wonder if we talk about this every year, but the point total from Kelsey, and he had a great year, and it's hard to put up great years year after year. I mean, 237 points last year. He had 190 the previous season. And then you look at the wide receivers and the running backs kind of going in that era or area of the draft. I mean, you talk about trying to find the guys that are most like DeAndre Hopkins, who had 260 points. If you talk about those running backs that fall down there around the end of the first, I mean, maybe Aaron Jones at 235, but is it just how crappy the tight end situation is? Like, if you get him, you're okay with getting a running back later, because I mean that's the ultimate situation, right? Is that if you're going to pass on a running back like Aaron Jones or Jonathan Taylor for Travis Kelsey, you're going to wait a round or two, depending on what wide receiver is there. And Mikey, I mean, that's okay. You're fine with that disparity between, I don't know, someone like Aaron Jones and, I don't know, a running back in that third round. I don't know if we're talking, as I look through here, I don't know, Myles Gaskin, David Montgomery. I mean, that seems like such a drop. So instead of having someone like Aaron Jones or Joe Mixon, you're going with Kelsey and maybe Myles Gaskin. That seems a little scary when you look at your roster. But I mean, is that the price? That's the price you have to pay, right?
That's right. And look, I'm going to tell you this: not all points are created equally. So the gap between, say, a Kelsey and, you know, tight end number, 4, it's so large as compared to, like, those running backs and the receivers in that position. It's not a coincidence at all that Travis Kelsey has been on the championship winning team 3 straight years, because it's such a big advantage to have somebody like that over another opponent. It's not fair, really. So yeah, I mean, just really, really look at it. And when you have somebody that has that big of an advantage at one position, there's no other position that we use, running back, quarterback, receiver, defense, kicker, whatever, that has that type of advantage.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Todd.
I was going to say, yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously the gap is, it's a big gap. I get it, but I would rather just try to find a tight end, or in my case, find a tight end who scores a touchdown, from the previous week, and go pick him up, and hopefully it does it again. But I'm just not. I've experienced enough where doing that, trying to get a top tight end, and trying to go find running backs matchups, regardless of matchups or whatever. That's trying to find running backs on the waiver wire, or trying to draft running backs late. When you come to the tiers of each running back, and you're scraping at the bottom in the draft. No, it's not. That's not the best.
But think of it this way, and here's what I'm trying to explain.
Yeah.
Like, Kelsey was getting, like 18 to 20 points every week last year. And so you're doing this pickup random tight end on waiver wire, and he scores you what, 4 or 5? That's a 15, sometimes more point difference. That is extremely hard in fantasy football to make up, is a 15-point difference at one position. That means that you have to be like way better at running back than the other person. That means that your guy, so you say you take Aaron Jones in the first round and they take running back whoever, so I'm just going to throw a name like Nick Chubb out in second round. The difference doesn't match up as far as points wise. The advantage that he's got with that Kelsey pick, you can't make up that 15 points. It's so large.
If you're telling me I'm going to have Aaron Jones and Nick Chubb,
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he picks, say, and this is always it's going to end up being, watch, it's going to end up being Aaron. Say he ends up taking Kelsey in that first round, and then he takes Nick Chubb in the second round. So the difference between Chubb and, say, somebody like Aaron Jones, it's not that much, to be honest. But now he's got Kelsey too, which is going to be, that big giant advantage over you at your tight end spot. So already he's beating you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess that's a double-edged sword, I guess, in my case, where Kelsey puts up a lot of points, like like a wide receiver and a running back, but I'm still still with the notion of just having two good running backs, and hopefully, you're right. Yeah, sometimes tight ends will just put up 4 points, 5 points, but if the rest of my team is stacked, that 4 points to some degree may not be that big of a difference whether I win or lose to some degree.
All I'm saying is there is no way he's making it past pick number 14, because he's not getting past that turn of Aaron and G at the end when they have those two picks like that. One of those two is taking him.
They have the championships to show for it.
Right. I would be shocked if they didn't.
Mikey, any concern that he's 31 years old?
I mean, a little bit, but he hasn't shown anything whatsoever of decline. Like, he hasn't had any injuries really yet. I mean, that he's in an offense that's just throw heavy. Until you see something I think you just roll with it.
The last thing I'll say about it too, in this discussion between Kelsey and running backs get hurt a lot more than Travis Kelsey, or at least most tight ends. I think that's the problem. You talk about my situation with Christian McCaffrey, who got hurt and then ended up getting Kenyon Drake, who was not great and dealt with some injury, and James Conner, who was kind of hurt all year long. And those guys get hurt just at a much larger, much more frequent pace, that they don't end up picking up the 237 points you may think that you're going to get out of those guys. And so if you talk about Kelsey, who has played 16, 16, and 15 the last 3 years, I don't think he played last year because they had everything locked up. So in terms of playoffs, I think that's a big factor. Okay, let's keep going here in terms of can anybody take over that top spot from Kelsey? If anybody, and you guys can say no, but if anybody can, who do you think can? We'll start with Todd.
I think it might actually, surprisingly. I mean, I have this tight end ranked number fourth, but who could maybe Mark Andrews. And
get the fuck out of here. Sorry for the cursing, but I mean, go ahead, Todd. Finish your point.
I don't think you actually cursed, but all right.
Yeah, you just said get the F out of here.
I just find it interesting that he says number 4 is a guy that probably could usurp Travis Kelsey for the top spot. But go ahead, Andrews.
I think he's due for a bounce back year. And granted, he's been injured a lot, and I think too, he's their only offensive weapon, really. I mean, because we've seen Marquise Brown, as much as you kind of hoping Marquise Brown was going to take a next step or something like that, really didn't. But I think that's Lamar Jackson's safety blanket. He's a big target, and I think he could, because again, Darren Waller and George Kittle, those two are like the obvious ones that could do. But I think Mark Andrews, might surprise a lot of people, and could do it. Could do it. Let's go big or go home. Because like I said, Waller and Kittle would be the two obvious ones, but Andrew, I think Andrews could be. I think Andrews could could leapfrog those two and maybe take down Kelsey. So, yeah.
Mikey.
Like he's silent.
Well, I agree that Andrews can have a bounce back year. You know how difficult it is to try for him to try and catch Kelsey. So in 2 seasons, and Andrews was really good the previous season, but there's a difference of 95 targets in 2 years between the two. Like there is no way you can make up a gap that size. I mean, you're talking about 50 targets a year. That's nuts. There's no way it can happen, and it has nothing to do with Andrews not being a talented player. It's just more Baltimore being more of a run team. So
They
the
throw
opportunity,
they throw the least amongst all NFL teams.
yeah. So yeah, I just don't see that being any sort of possibility unless Kelsey gets hurt. Waller, on the other hand, would probably have the best opportunity, given that the receiving corps in Las Vegas is just awful. And he's a big time playmaker. They look for him a ton, but yeah, even with him, I don't see him reaching the Kelsey type level.
Yeah. The thing that it's intriguing about Waller is that he led all tight ends with 27 red zone targets. That's an incredible number. And you're right. I mean, they lost Nelson Aguilar. They added John Brown, who's nothing special. I think the thing that helps him is if they don't change how Ruggs is played, and even John Brown can do this, is it stretches the field, so it opens things up from underneath. It's good to have those guys. Well, they may not even try to get it down there to John Brown if he's healthy, or Ruggs, whatever the case. I think that just opens so much. You don't know what you're going to get from Kittle. The thing that bothers me about George Kittle is he's never had more than 5 touchdowns in a season. And as Todd kind of alluded with Andrews, that he can rack up touchdowns. He had 10 2 years ago and 7 in a kind of an off year. But he's got some massive upside, especially with the targets, 136 targets in 2018, 85, or he had 107, in 2019. Well, I don't think either one of them would really do it. I believe Waller would have the best opportunity. You just worried about with Aguilar out of the picture and teams not having to worry about him. I mean, he had 8 touchdowns, so they had to pay attention to him. So Waller could get double teamed a lot more. I mean, he's still young enough, and the athleticism is still there. But it'll be interesting to see what we get out of Kittle coming back out of there and where he may go in the draft. Who do you guys think will go, or who do you think should go second? And maybe that's based on your rankings. Should it be Waller that goes as a second tight end drafted, or is it Kittle, Mikey?
Waller should go second, just given the volume that I believe that he'll get. Kittle coming off an injury plague season. The uncertainty at quarterback is more of the scary thing in my mind for him. You figure at some point, and who knows how long this is going to be, it'll shift from Garoppolo to Trey Lance, and once that happens, then who knows what happens to the target share for Kittle. So that's a little bit scary. I would have Waller second.
Same with you, Todd?
Yeah, I have Waller second.
All right. So I think we all agree that the top 3, I mean, I guess you could argue that Travis Kelce's in a tier of his own, but we pretty much know who the top 3 are: Kelce, Waller, and Kittle. But who's number 4? And Todd already mentioned that he liked Mark Andrews as his number 4 guy. Who do you have number 4, Miguel?
Okay, so number 4 for me, I kind of threw I'm taking a chance here, but I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts, the rookie.
Oh my goodness. All right. I love it. Go for it.
Yeah. I mean, you saw what kind of talent the dude had at Florida. He was a big red zone target. And the one thing that throughout the career of Matt Ryan is the dude loves his tight ends. Like for the entire time that Tony Gonzalez was there, Tony Gonzalez was, lighting it up in Atlanta. Hayden Hurst was, okay last year. They had somebody the year before that. Austin Hooper was fantastic before he went to Cleveland. So, yeah, I mean, I figure with them losing Julio and they're going to be a team that still has to throw a bunch, I think Kyle Pitts makes the most sense.
Wow, Kyle Pitts. Interesting. Todd, where do you have Kyle Pitts in your rankings? If you rank tight ends, I didn't ask you guys to rank guys, but you might have rankings right now.
I have Pitts at number 9.
Interesting. Yeah, I have Kyle Pitts at number 8. I don't know what to expect from this Atlanta team, and their defense is bad. I mean, we talked about the passing and the attempts are going to be up. I just worry about tight ends in their first year. I think it scares me off.
I do too, but when most tight ends suck, I think you got to go for upside.
Yeah, that is true. I can appreciate that. But are we not excited? I mean, I have Mark Andrews 4th as well, but no one's mentioned TJ Hawkinson. I mean, with the upside that he brings to the table, with Jared Goff, who loves his tight ends. You talk about the last season. I'm trying to find where I have Hawkinson at. So Jared Goff, using his tight ends in 2020, the combination of Higbee and Everett, 85 receptions, 938 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Been in the league, third-year breakout, perhaps. Are we not feeling great about Hawkinson in that Detroit offense?
I'm not feeling good about Detroit and offense or Detroit and team. Anything with Detroit, and yeah, no, not feeling good.
Todd, any thoughts on Hawkinson?
I mean, I have him ranked 6th. Like you said, Goff has to throw the ball to somebody, so might as well be his tight end.
All right. Anything you want to say about Andrews, Miguel, before we move on?
No, I mean, I think he can have a bounce back. I mean, not the greatest of years last year, at least compared to the previous, but he can bounce back. I mean, the big thing with him is he had 10 touchdowns the previous year, so he had 3 less. He had 7 last year, but he just didn't have the same amount of targets, and I don't know if that was just them just trying to be more run centric or trying to get Lamar Jackson going. Like Lamar Jackson wasn't as good either, so I don't know. It's hard to say. If Lamar bounces back, then Andrews probably does too.
What's interesting about Andrews, which makes me a little higher on him, is he actually had more red zone targets last year in 2020 than he did in 2019 when he had the 10 touchdowns, which means they're still looking for him in a prime spot. So touchdowns are a fluky thing. Sometimes Lamar Jackson's going to run it in, or we saw J.K. Dobbins do some good things last year. But I still think they appreciate him, and he's the most proven pass catcher of the bunch. A guy that is super excited to have his man Aaron Rodgers back is Robert Tonyan, who actually tied Travis Kelce in the NFL with 11 touchdown catches. Can he do it again, Todd?
I mean, obviously, Aaron Rodgers is going to be very motivated this year. And I think, the fact that Aaron Rodgers maybe found a second target, I think that's going to help him a lot. And again, I always say, when you're attached to certain players attached to not just a, Pro Bowl quarterback, but a potential Hall of Fame quarterback, that really helps your stock out a lot. So I think that's gonna help him out a lot. So
where do you have him ranked?
I have him ranked. My rankings in front of me. I do. You know what? I don't think I.
Didn't even.
I don't think I. I don't. I think I. I think I stopped. I think I stopped ranking. I think I stopped like at 20, so I think I was going to put him at 21.
You have Robert Tonyan ranked 21st?
Well, I was thinking about maybe putting him at 21st, but I think
Holy cow. Mikey, where do you have Robert Tonyan ranked?
Well, first of all, I want to say Todd was extremely right about everything he said. When he said Aaron Rodgers found, his second favorite target, he's right. So much so that he went and told the general manager to go get him. His name's Randall Cobb. And that is part of the reason why I'm worried about Tonyan duplicating that. I mean, 11 touchdowns is a lot. Like, that's a lot. I don't see any way he approaches that number. I had Tonyan ranked at 12th. I just, his overall receiving numbers weren't that impressive. 52 catches, 586 yards. So if he does suffer a dip in production with the touchdowns, like if you even say he cuts that in half, I mean, if he has like 5 or 6, that's a decent year for a tight end, but it doesn't get him anywhere close to where he was last year. So I just don't see him approaching that number.
I just loved how Todd has said all these positive things about him, but ranked him 21st. I agree with Mikey that he's not efficient. He had 11 touchdowns on 59 targets, and those 59 targets, I mean, that's efficient. That's probably more than efficient. However, his 59 targets ranked 24th amongst all tight ends in that category. He did catch a ridiculous 88.1% of his targets, which is actually a new record for tight ends. So it's really going to be hard for him to duplicate that type of year. However, the touchdown upside is pretty massive with him. I mean, if you believe Aaron Rodgers is going to have another MVP type season, yes, he'll throw it to Devontae Adams. Yes, he'll throw it to Aaron Rodgers. But who's number 3? I'm taking Tanyan over Randall Cobb. I know they're a different position, but if you're asking me who's going to have more fantasy points, I would take Tanyan over those guys. How are we feeling about Logan Thomas, who kind of have a breakout in 2020, dealing with a new quarterback this year, and Ryan Fitzpatrick? However, he broke out at the age of 29. So I don't know how most people feel about that, Mikey.
I mean, Fitzpatrick's definitely an upgrade for him. So I mean, there's no reason why I've got him in my top 10. Let's see, I've got him 7th. So yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why he can't continue. He really busted out towards the end part of last year. Fitzpatrick's not like a elite quarterback, but he's a darn good quarterback and better than anything that they had last year. So I mean, I think that Logan Thomas can be pretty productive in this offense.
What says you, Todd, about Logan Thomas, a guy who ended up having 109 targets, which was 3rd amongst all tight ends?
I have Logan Thomas. I'm high on him. I have him number 5 in my rankings. Right. So obviously maybe a new change of scenery. I don't know. We'll see if he can produce like he did last year. And obviously, like I said, the quarterback position, I don't want to say it's a big upgrade, but it's something. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick can definitely throw the ball around a little bit, and I think that might help him. And again, it gives another weapon in there besides McLaurin to throw the ball to. So I think that definitely helps Thomas and Fitzpatrick at the same time. So I'm high on him. If I'm number 5, then I would say roll the dice.
Another fun stat for Logan Thomas is, according to Pro Football Reference, he finished 12th overall amongst all receivers, both tight ends and wide receivers, in red zone targets. And so obviously with a new quarterback, but it's something the team values and knows he's capable of. So a guy who could put up similar stats, maybe even better if with Ryan Fitzpatrick in there. He is a gunslinger, but I know they're also trying to run the ball as well. Noah Fant, we've obviously seen a lot of him here in Bronco country. Kind of dealt with an ankle sprain all of last season. Can he break out in his 3rd season, Miguel?
He can, but this is all, quarterback dependent. So, I mean, at first glance, his numbers last year didn't look like awful. I mean, 62 catches, 673, but it's back-to-back seasons with only 3 touchdowns. And that's disappointing from somebody like him who was a first-round pick. Not all his fault. I mean, a lot of this is just bad quarterback play. So you guys know how I feel. I give you this caveat. I believe that if Bridgewater's the quarterback, I think that number will go up. But if it's Drew Lock, then I think you just see more of the same.
Interesting. Todd, quick thoughts on Noah Fant?
I mean, I have him ranked 8th. Now with, like I said, with all these weapons now, in this Broncos offense, I don't want to say it's a put up or shut up for Noah Fant, but he's got to turn a corner sometime, regardless of regardless of quarterback play. He has to start turning that corner, because if he doesn't, I don't know, the whispers are going to start getting a little bit louder, and it's not going to be good. So he has to turn a corner. I know Mikey says this every time is quarterback dependent, but regardless, if you want to be one of top tight ends or be one of those Pro Bowl tight ends, it doesn't matter who's throwing you the football. It could be one of us throwing the football. He has to turn the corner. He's a first round draft pick.
But will he? That's the question. That's the question, Todd. Do you think he will?
He will.
Do you think he will?
I think he can. I think he can. I think he's got the talent to do it. And I think it'll help with all these other weapons.
I don't want to hear talent. Tell us, what is your belief? What does your gut tell you?
I mean, first of all, he's athletic enough. I mean, he's a big body tight end, and he can run. But at the end of the day,
dancing, Eric. Todd is dancing.
I'm not dancing. I want to see him succeed.
He asked you a question. It was a yes or no question. You're not giving him a yes or a no. That's why you're dancing.
I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes.
Okay.
All right, we're going to pick up the pace a little bit here because we want to get to that mock draft. So I'm just going to ask you guys about I'll ask Mikey about a guy and then Todd about a guy because I'm not going to be able to give you time to both respond. But Mikey, quick thoughts on Mike Gesicki, 703 yards, 6 touchdowns, another year with Tua. What can we see from him this year?
I think that he's going to improve a bunch. I actually like the fit with Tua a lot. And that was one of the things I was noticing in the first preseason game that they played. He was targeting Gesicki a lot. So seems to have built somewhat of a good relationship as a safety blanket. So this might be the year that Gesicki kind of shows out. I like him.
Yeah, it kind of really broke out in the last 4 games, averaged about 8 targets a game, 6 receptions. So maybe starting to develop a rapport with Tua. Todd, what are your thoughts on Gronk?
Well, obviously, they pulled him out of retirement, and it kind of took him a little bit, to get adjusted to it. But once he found his his groove or whatever, or his rhythm, it was great. I mean, I said last year in the podcast that he kind of a bold prediction that Gronk will be a top 5 tight end. He wasn't, but I think he'll obviously bring everybody back, so that helps the continuity of everything. So of the team, I have Gronk ranked 12th. I think obviously winning a Super Bowl definitely motivates again. I mean, he's got enough rings anyway, but I think too. Yeah, I think too with the with injury factors in that Bucks offense. Because Evans gets dinged up sometimes. Godwin gets dinged up every time. Sometimes you don't know what's going to get from Antonio Brown. So Gronk again, Tom Brady's safety blanket. Enough said.
Enough said. Todd's throwing it down. He's done with it. I'm not super excited about Gronk. OJ Howard returns. Didn't have more than 48 yards in 11 of 16 games, but there's just too much going on over there. All right, speeding this up a little bit more, I want you guys to give me a yes or no. Do you guys like Dallas Goedert? Mikey, yes or no?
No.
Todd?
No.
What about Blake Jarwin? Do you like him? Yes or no? Mikey?
No.
Todd?
Yes.
All right. How about the New England duo of tight ends? Who would you guys rather have, Jonnu Smith or an injured Hunter Henry? Mikey?
Give me Jonnu Smith, but I don't really like either one.
Okay. Todd, what about you?
Jonnu Smith.
Jared Cook. Any interest now that he's with Justin Herbert, a top 15 type of guy? Mikey?
Oh, I'll say yes, but only because the position sucks.
Todd?
Yes.
He has averaged 7 touchdowns and 75 targets the last 3 years. We'll see how he works with the new quarterback. All right, let's get into this mock draft. We're going to go through this pretty quick. Give me a sentence or two on why you guys are going to draft him. We did this Todd, Eric, Mikey all the way through. And to make it even more interesting, we will be drafting at our normal spots. Mikey's not happy with that, but we're going to do it anyway. So, Todd, you have the number 1 pick. Go.
All right, Christian McCaffrey. Easy. Best running back in reality and fantasy. Does everything. Runs, catches. enough said. Let's move on.
Wow, that was the quickest Todd's ever been in the history of this podcast. Thank you, Todd.
No problem.
All right, I have the second pick. I'll go with Dalvin Cook. Catches the ball, main guy in that offense. They build it around running the ball, and I think he's going to have another fantastic season. Mikey, your pick. This is actually your pick in the draft. So who's it going to be? I know we don't know what's going to happen in the draft with some of the guys in front of you, but it's chalk so far in this one.
I'm going to go with Derrick Henry. What I feel like is the third best running back in the draft right now. Touchdown every game. I'm going to go with the safe pick here at number 3.
All right, so Chris McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, and then Derrick Henry. Todd, you're at number 4.
I go with Kamara. Again, another versatile running back. Obviously, I know Drew Brees is gone, but he's and no Michael Thomas for a little bit too. So there's your offense right there.
All right, so back to me at number 5. I'm actually going to go Devontae Adams here. I was thinking about someone like Elliott or Ezekiel Elliott or Nick Chubb, but a lot of question marks around some of those offenses, and especially with Kareem Hunt in the mix. So I just went with the surefire, at least in my opinion, in terms of getting those 200 points. Devontae Adams. Mikey, back to you at number 6.
Number 6, I'm going to go with Aaron Jones. The running back from Green Bay, high-powered offense. He's been really good the past 2 seasons. Nothing's going to change from that. I'm going to go Aaron Jones with this pick.
Oh, Todd is heartbroken. This is Todd's pick in the draft, and no Aaron Jones. So a real-life scenario. Who's it going to be for you now, Todd?
Well, I obviously, prepare for all scenarios. So I will go with Nick Chubb. Obviously, how the Browns offense is, and Nick Chubb is still that workhorse. I know Kareem Hunt, comes in there and some of the carries, but Nick Chubb is still the main back. So I'll go with Nick Chubb.
All right. So far here in the first round, Christian McCaffrey, then Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Ezekiel Elliott will be to me at number 8. I've already put him on the sheet of paper here. But Zeke, super high upside, didn't have the greatest year, but last year, but still finished 9th. If Dak is back and he's catching 50 balls, I like where he's at, and an offense that likes to run the ball, and they have the offensive line to do it. All right, back to you, Mike, at number 9.
Number 9, I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley. Yes, he's going to be a little bit banged up going in, but you can't pass up on the talent. Running, receiving, all-around back. I'm going with Saquon.
All right, Saquon off the board. To you, Todd, at number 10.
All right, well, we'll go with another running back that maybe to see, that maybe takes that next step after having a great rookie season. I will go with Jonathan Taylor.
All right, so the Indy running back now off the board. And then it goes back to me at number 11. The next guy I have on my list is Tyreek Hill, a guy that picked up his receptions last year. I think that was always kind of the knock on him, is that he'd have a lot of touchdowns, but maybe not a lot of receptions. Had receptions in the 80s last year. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think a lot of people were concerned that he was going to eat up a lot of receptions and take some of those away. But Tyreek Hill, man, was incredible. And maybe I'm a little biased, but that man saved my season last year. But even despite that, put up numbers pretty consistently last year, right? The last pick in the first round. Mikey, who you got?
Oh, I'm going to go with the man that gives you the advantage. I'm going to go with Travis Kelce. We talked a lot about him in this podcast, and I told you, I think he should be a first-round pick.
All right, so that first round, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. And so now we're going to do the second round pretty much as if we were the same owner. So Mikey will go at number 13. I'll be at 14. So we're like drafting as if we're drafting for a team. So Mikey, this team has Travis Kelce. Who are you going with your second pick?
Second pick, I am going with Stephon Diggs, receiver from Buffalo. High-powered offense. They're bringing mostly everybody back. Josh Allen should be just as good. I'm going with Diggs.
All right, so back to me at number 14. I'm going to go with Austin Eckler here. He won't put up a ton of rushing yards. He'll get you close to 400 to 500, which is still pretty decent, but it's those 80 to 90 receptions, and he'll probably get somewhere between 7 and 9 touchdowns. But it's those receptions in a full PPR league, and that's who I had as the next best running back. So now Todd in the first round, you had Jonathan Taylor. So running back with that pick, who are you going with this one?
I'm going to go with maybe the new number 1 in Atlanta and Calvin Ridley.
I don't know if it's maybe. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I know.
He's the number 1 guy, unless something changes. But yeah, you probably feel pretty confident about that. All right, so back to Mikey, and at this pick in the first round, who are you going to match up with Saquon Barkley?
I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he's still going to be a target monster down there in Arizona. I think his touchdown number could improve from where it was last year. So give me Hopkins.
All right, so far here in the second round, Stephon Diggs, Austin Eckler, Calvin Ridley, and DeAndre Hopkins. And with the 17th pick, I had Ezekiel Elliott in that first round. In this second round, I am going to go with DK Metcalf to match up a receiver with that running back. We saw what Metcalf did in his second year, and he could break out even better in his third year. Everything pretty much remains the same. Yes, they struggled down the stretch, but I'm sure they'll figure things out, and you still have Russell Wilson, who can make a lot of things happen, likes to go deep, and Metcalf is quite the freak athlete. All right, Todd at number 18. Nick Chubb was who you picked in the first round for this pick. This would have been your actual pick. So Nick Chubb in the first. Who are you going with in the second?
I will go with the player that I should have kept on my team last year and just been more patient, but I will go with Justin Jefferson.
So the Minnesota wide receiver who had an incredible rookie year, paired up with Adam Thielen, who, man, it was such a formidable duo, that offense, especially with Dalvin Cook. And so Nick Chubb and then Justin Jefferson paired together. Mikey with that 6th pick, Aaron Jones, who you going with at number 19 to match up with him?
I'm going to go with the running back Joe Mixon from Cincinnati. With Gio Bernard gone, this is a full 3-down back now. If he can stay healthy, I think that you can expect big things from him this year.
I like that pick. I'm also going to go running back here, number 20. I had Devontae Adams in the first, so going to get that running back and going to go with that rookie, Najee Harris. It always makes me shiver a little bit. We've seen rookie running backs have great seasons. He's on a great offense, and they're going to need him. They tried to run that trio of running backs, McFarland and James Conner, and I forget the third guy because he was so bad. But I mean, just running those guys, they just couldn't get it done. If this guy could be anything half of what those guys are, there could easily be 8 to 10 touchdowns, because they need a guy to get those first downs and the guy at the goal line. And I think it's a perfect fit there for them. All right, Todd, with the 4th pick, you had Alvin Kamara. Who are you pairing with him here at pick number 21?
I will go with Terry McLaurin.
Wow.
From Washington. I think, I think he's ready to kind of elevate himself a little bit more into that, top tier wide receiver class. So Terry McLaurin.
All right, so far here in this second round, Stephon Diggs, Austin Eckler, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, and Terry McLaurin. So Mikey here with the 3rd pick, you selected Derrick Henry. That's your actual pick. And so who are you going to match him up with here in the second round?
I'm going to go receiver. I'm going to go Keenan Allen from the Chargers. He's going to get a lot of that volume over there in Los Angeles. Herbert should take another step up at the quarterback, so I think that's a really good pick at this point.
All right, so with the 23rd pick, to match up with Dalvin Cook, who I picked with the 2nd overall pick, man, I'm deciding between 2 players here and just trying to think who would come back. And so I'm going to go with the safe route here, because that's what Eric likes to do. He's a safe guy. I'm going to go with A.J. Brown, who excelled in the offense in Tennessee last year. Didn't have a ton of receptions, but I think that number can go up. Still a young man. Obviously, we'll see how things go with Julio. but I think A.J. Brown is still the number one the number one wide receiver with the Titans. And so Todd, Christian McCaffrey with the number one overall pick at number 24, rounding out this mock draft. Who are you selecting?
I will select Allen Robinson from the Bears. We'll see if Justin Fields is the quarterback, because I think that'll help him out a lot. And again, they don't have very many weapons in Chicago besides Robinson and Montgomery. So let's go with the number one wide receiver in that offense, Allen Robinson.
All right. So in the first round of this mock draft, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. And then the second round, Stephon Diggs, Austin Eckler, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, A.J. Brown, and Allen Robinson. So we still have about 5 minutes left to go, at least for an hour. So I was going to ask you guys, was there guys on this maybe that you had in your top 24 that didn't make the list? Mikey?
No, not really. I mean, I haven't fully put together I just have my separate positional rankings, and I haven't really gotten down to the brass tacks of, combining everything together. So that's really hard to say at this point.
All right. What about you, Todd? Anybody that didn't make the top 24 in your list that you thought maybe should have been there?
I was actually surprised that Amari Cooper or actually any of the Cowboys wide receivers or Steelers, either Steelers, Cowboys, or even some of the Bucs wide receivers, just because, again, who their quarterbacks are and who they're attached to.
But I think you said it right there, is that there's multiples. So you try to find those guys. You try to find those guys that don't have that much target sharing going on in that offense.
Yeah, but I think still the fact of how high power their offenses are, at least one of those wide receivers is going to get more targets than the other, but I don't think it's going to be as wide margin as people think. But that's just me.
Well, I find it interesting because your last two picks were wide receivers, and neither one of them were Cowboys, Bucks, or Steelers. But that's okay. I think that there's some depth to be had there. One of the guys I thought about with that 23rd pick was George Kittle. At that pick, maybe you go with a tight end at that point if people are worried about it. I mean, it could have been Kittle, it could have been Waller, but I see him going in the second round, late in the second round. Waller mostly more than Kittle, obviously because of the injuries and the quarterback issue. But that was just one guy I thought about putting in there, sliding in there, but it seems pretty. There's mostly chalk. I don't think there's any like super major surprises. David Montgomery could have been in there. Patrick Mahomes. I never know when someone's going to take a quarterback at that.
Well, right. And I was going to say, that's how we know our mock draft is going to be wrong, because a quarterback is gone in the first couple rounds of the draft, basically every single year for who knows how long. So it's going to happen again, and we'll just see who does it.
Yes, indeed. So, guys, for the next show, should that be our Sleepers and Busts episode, or do you have something else in mind?
Because usually,
we're not doing a defense show. I'm telling you that now.
No.
Or kickers. Thank you.
Or kickers. Eric's favorite position to talk about. Is kickers. No, because usually the last show in years past we've usually done the mock draft. So, but busts and sleepers are. I don't know. We kind of talked about a little bit of those in some like the running back podcast or what we think are busts or
We did a little with the quarterbacks, but I didn't ask you guys those
Oh.
specific questions. Like, give me someone out of the top 20 that could finish in the top 10. I kind of stayed away from those just so we could do a sleepers busts breakout type of show. So I think there's enough of that to do an entire show.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So I think we do that next week. We have 2 weeks before the draft. So we do kind of a sleepers bust episode next week. We could do more board bet stuff in that regard because you're kind of like bold. Well, you know what? Let's just do this. So sleepers bust show next week. And then the final week before the draft, we'll do some board bets, some bold predictions, some position battles that are going on if things are starting to getting up and rolling. And then we have the draft on the 5th, and then we can always kind of do a show about what we thought about the draft and blah, 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 and all that stuff. So that'll sound good to you guys?
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. You can taste it. It's in the air. Football season. I know a lot of us are still trying to fight for fantasy baseball stuff, but it's hard to ignore football. A lot going on. ESPN has I haven't watched a single minute of it because I'm trying to stay away from that stuff at this point, but they're having their 24-hour-a-day ESPN fantasy coverage. So a lot of cool stuff going on. I'm excited. I know you guys are excited, and we'll soon be drafting. And we hope you guys out there, the MHA owners, excited for the draft. And guys, thanks for coming on here this Wednesday night, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
See you later.
Yeah.
So for Mikey Renault, Todd Diamond, I'm your host, Eric Lansing. We'll see you next time on the MHA podcast.